Man, oh man, I love that iconic riff from 1983 by the great band The Fix. And how appropriate. We're going to fix something today because one thing always leads to another. I've always considered myself an early adopter until the AI age came around, and then I was a bit reluctant. As one who started programming in the early 80s, I was a bit reluctant to jump on board. I even told my development team, you better not be using ChatGPT. Well, that was foolishness. It really is. And once I started learning the tools, I began to see that, hey, this is what I've really been waiting for. And so in this experiment, I'm going to use the newly available Codex to help me develop a program using plain text, no coding required, and it's going to help me manage my VMs. Now, I have a lot of VMs, and I cleaned up most of them. I'm down to like 3 or 4, and so just for parallels in my Mac. But I also have, a whole server rack full of VMs that I use for other purposes. But what I want to do is help manage the VMs that are on my local machine and be able to pull them from an external drive into a local space so that I can access, use them, and then when I'm done, either move them off. And so I have a few goals. And the goals are these. It's to pull the VM from the external drive to a local folder for active VM usage. So it's clear what I want to do with this. And then after I'm done, what do I want to do? Well, do I want to leave it in place? Well, that might be a thing, and so I don't need to do anything else. Or I might want to delete it. I'm done with it. I'm deleting it. Don't need it anymore. Or the other thing is to replace the one that's on the external drive. Now, before you guys go crazy, I know I can use Automator. I know I can use a lot of other things to do this task. That's not the point. The point is I'd like to make a little program for my own purposes. I will put it up on my GitHub, but for my own purposes, to manage my own VMs in my own way. And I think that's what's going to happen in this AI age, and is already happening. Our workflows are going to be our own way of doing things, and so we might start developing our own tools to do our own things in our own way, and that's what's kind of great about all this stuff. All right, well, let's ask Codex to make a statement about itself. And so if I can spell right here, in general, there we go. What is Codex? What's it going to say about itself? It has to think. You'd think it'd come back a whole lot faster. But let's see, Codex is an AI coding assistant. Well, that's great. It's coding focused AI. It's a coding agent that can inspect a project. I used it that way. And the app or workflow layer, which is great because I use it with GitHub all the time. Can I make a complete program based on my own specifications? And it says, why? Sure, I can do that. And that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to make a program based on our own specifications. Here's my VMs, and I want to be able to offload these VMs onto my external drive. Let's take a look at what I have locally as far as virtual machines go. Capital P parallels, and those are the ones I have locally. There's only 4. I had a whole lot more. Now let's see what I have on my USB volumes, and you can see I have the same 4, and that's fine, and that's where we're going to start today. So let's recap real quick what we're going to do. And the first thing is we're going to pull the VM from an external drive and run it in a local area. 2 is when I'm done with it, what am I going to do with this? And so, we have a decision to make. Are we going to keep it in place? That's going to be a case. Are we going to delete it? Or are we going to replace the one on the drive? And that's all fine and good. And then finally, we have one more other task, and that is to give it a proper name. So, as I may have hinted before, I thought, well, this could be handy to handle with my VMs. Why don't I call it VM Handy? Now it's time to fire up the program. Let's fire up 2 program, and that is Codex. Now I'm using the command line version, but you can also use the GUI version if you want. So what is we want to do? Be able to pull down. So let's give it a prompt that will help us understand exactly what we need it to do. I want to make a program called VM Handy. This application will put a Parallels VM from a USB folder to a local folder and on my internal drive. When I'm done with the VM, I'll either let it stay in place, delete it, or replace it on a remote drive. Which language should I use? And let's find out what it says. It's working. Use Python for this. It probably knows Python really well. It actually does. And let's go back and see what it says in the prompt. Spit out a lot of stuff. Still spitting out a lot of stuff. And let's see what it's going to say. Let's move up. Use Python for this. Your app is mostly a local file orchestration tool. Detect, select the USB folder, copy parallels, delete, copy, show progress, language Python looks good, file ops, tells you the libraries it's going to use, checks for free space, and overwrite, replace. Okay, all of that's good. Before we move forward, I want to bring up my Wing IDE. It's the one I use for Python. I know VS Code's out there. It's great. It does probably a lot more than Wing does. Maybe not. I just really like the way Wing works. And then let's see. I think we're about ready to get started. So let us move forward. See what it's going to do. Alright, it's finished spitting things out. Let me jump over to a terminal. I'm already in my projects Python VM Handy folder, but it created another VM Handy folder. Of course, I didn't figure that out quite readily. It's like, okay, I couldn't change to that folder. Why? I don't know. Yep. See what we got here. I'm going to get this right in just a moment. Okay, what in the wild world of sports is going on here? Okay, so I'm in my projects Python VM Handy, and I need to go into the source folder, and then under the source folder is the VM Handy. Okay. Alright, and then I'm going to try to run it, run the main, see what happens, and bam. Okay, so I must be missing a library. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pip3 that in. Okay, so I'm downloading the pip3. My internet really isn't that fast, but let's try it again. We see main, and there is no module called VM Handy. Well, what the wild world of sports is going on here? Alright, let's take a peek inside the main and see what it's doing there. Okay, so we have VM Handy UI, and that's the VM Handy class that it is having trouble finding, which is kind of odd. So anyway, I think I'm going to have to go back to Codex and, you know, try to figure this out. So I'm going to ask it to do a couple things. First of all, I want to move the code into the right folder so we don't have this project within a project within a project. So hopefully you'll get that right. And then next, what I want to do is to have it take a look at the program and see why it's not working right. Alright, so let's see if it's going to get it right this time around, and it's working, and it thinks it's done. Nope, still working. Alright, so in the meantime, what I want to do is to, get my project set up inside of my Wing 11, and let's go ahead and save that off. While it's working, give it a new project name. And let's see if it moves us. Okay. Well, it still wants to give me that source folder, and I know that is, a standard that should be out there. That's not mine, right? We're trying to make this the way I want to do things. So I told you where to move the code. So maybe it'll flatten it out even more. But I always try to be nice to your AI because you never know in the future it may come back on you. It always asks for extra things to do, but not always the obvious, so I'm asking it to remove any of the unused folders. And let's see if it does that. It should. Alright, let's see if we have a program now. It should have put all the right things in place, and let's launch it. There we go. We have our VM Handy. Let's see. There we go. Let's get it back. There we go. So we have a few things I think we need to clean up. So it was looking at, where the VM file was, but I really wanted to look at the folders. So let's change, instead of selecting bundles, let's check the folder, or select the folder location, and then let's list each of the VMs in their own list boxes. And what else am I saying? And allow for copying with overwrites checked. And then of course we want to gray out or limit access to the wrong buttons. So let's tell it that. And then based upon the selection, provide the correct button access. There we go. And then let's see. Tell me, list out what you're going to do before doing it. Let's watch it work. Okay, now it's going to tell me what it's going to do. This is the old program up here. It's working. All right, and tells you everything that it did for us. Let's go ahead and run it. And there we go. We got our new VM Handy program. And let's see how it's going to work. So we got the USB side on one side, local on the other. Here I'm going to select, let's see, what am I selecting? Yeah, I'm going to select the USB side. So let me grab my Parallels folder from there. And hey, it put files in there. That's great. I didn't even have to write any code. And so then let's move over to my local drive here. Let's see, maybe it's the top one. Maybe it's the bottom one. I got two of these quick access folders called Parallels. Let me, just in case, let me go to Parallels here, select that. All right, well, there we go. But here's the problem. I would like to actually see the path next to the list boxes also for validation, but in any case, I don't think the buttons are working right. And the keep local copy, I mean, keep local, what would that button even do? So let's go ahead and ask Codex. What does keep local copy do? It's working. Does it do anything right now? No. So what should we do? Remove the button entirely, rename it to done, leave it in place. Actually rename the file as leave it in place. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do any of those. All right, it has the new code in place. Let me go ahead and quickly fix up the project and let's see what we got. All right. Okay, so let's load up the remote folder or USB folder. I think I'm going to change the name of that. And then let's load the local folder. And I think it's going to be the second Parallels that's here. And let's see if that shows up. Okay, it's showing up. So far, so good. Now, I do see a problem. Keep local copy. Yeah, I don't want that. I should have renamed it to refresh list. I assume it's refreshing, but in any case, that needs to be fixed. And let's see what else. So the one thing that kind of irritates me is that I have to keep browsing to the same folder, have to keep, it's not maintaining the state. So let's go ahead and ask Codex to maintain state somehow. All right, let's select the right folders, and we're there. We got the locations that actually mirror the locations up top. So it's verification. Now it comes back up and it's maintaining state. So that's good, but I think we have a problem with our buttons. So I did not see any kind of local file to store the state. So I wonder, where are you storing the application state? Qt settings, and okay, that's going into the library preference. Yeah, I don't want that. And it wants to say, hey, do you want to do it in a JSON? JSONs are cool. Nothing wrong with that. It's the great way, but I kind of like the old INI. So let's see if it can do that. I know it can do that. All right, let's launch this bugger and see what. Oh, we got a problem. All right, and dict object has no attribute value. Okay, well, let's do it like this. Let's go out to our console. Let's run and let's grab this. That's a little bit better to put into your Codex and see what it has to say. Let's pop it in. Okay, it's working, it's thinking, and it comes up. Okay, so it tries to access something, with the value instead of doing like a get, which may return. No, it's like a try get, and so he says he fixed it, or she, whatever its pronouns are, and it says we should be able to launch again. Okay, still working. All right, it verified it. Okay, you should be able to launch. All right, let's do that and see what happens. Okay, that's good. Okay, so it's launching okay. We see over there it has a VM handy .ini. That's good, but I think there's still something wrong with our buttons and we haven't really addressed it. The problem here is I have over here a delete local copy, but copy to local, like the buttons really are not working. So let's see if we can get that fixed. Okay, so the buttons aren't working, so what we need to do is to work on our case statements. So if USB remote is selected, the only option should be available is to copy to local and delete remote VM, or overwrite remote VM. If local item is selected, copy to local should be grayed out, and delete local copy, replace remote VM should be made available. Update button names with remote instead of USB. All right, let's see what it does. All right, so looks like it's got the case statements for the remote and local done. It says it verified the changes, so that's wonderful. So let's see if this works. And well, it's not actually working. The button access seems to work initially and then stops working. So let's see what it can come up with. How about that? Codex says I'm right. Okay, so it fixed up the item selection issues, and so now let's see if the buttons work. Going to select the remote side, and only remote things should happen. And then, yep, copy the local. Select the local side, delete local. Okay, that's nice. It changed the button name. And all right, and it's maintaining state through the VM Handy INI, so that's good. And we have refresh on the end. Looks like we're getting close. Okay, there's just a couple things I want to do. I want to call it copy instead of replace, and then I want to make sure that the overwrite permissions are all correct. And let's see, copy VM to remote, that looks good. Yeah, so when I copy it, it should have the appropriate permissions, and ask the question if I want to overwrite. So I don't have a cancel in there, and I may end up doing that, but the situation of overriding a existing file, you know, we might want to, and it's funny, it says, you know, the target file to a temporary name, and it says, hey, a better approach is exactly what I just told it. And so it's fine, and I'll let it get the credit. But yeah, let's go ahead and implement this. All right, I think we're getting really close to a test here. So let's go ahead and fire it up. There's my local folder, and what I want to do is copy from the remote. Let's see, I think I want to copy the test, and oh, maybe I want to try the overwrite test. There we go. There's our overwrite test. And let's see. Okay, I need to get that window fixed, or pops up. I like them centered. So let's go ahead and say yes and see what happens. Boom! It breaks. It's broken. Here's the good news, is we have a backup, and really all I need to do is to delete the one I was overriding and rename it. And so let's do that real quick. And now I want to run it in the command line and see what we get. So let's try it again and copy the local, overwrite, and overflow. We got a major overflow issue. Let's keep saying it over and over again. All right, well, let me capture one of these overflow statements and let's see what Codex has to say about that. Paste it in, and overflow over and over and over. working. It has a signal type of int, which is 32-bit, but the size of my files, of course, is rather large, way over that size, and so it has corrected it, and let's see what happens now. Alright, overwrite, and let's go. There we go. It's copying, and of course this is sped up because I really don't want you waiting the whole 20 or 30 minutes to get this done. But we are now copying from the remote to the local folder, and soon it should be over there. Well, soon I mean as in magic video time. It'll be over there and we'll be able to use it. Okay, the next time we get together, we're going to be using Codex on this project with GitHub, and I'm going to be, creating a new project with Codex and GitHub. I'll be moving my source into there, and then building releases. And so it's not going to be as long, hopefully, and it should be good. We'll see you then.